And here in Sarasota, two friends of a young man who died at the Pulse nightclub are speaking with SNN's Crystal Knowles.
June 12th, a day the world will never forget. Eddie Sotomayor, known as Top Hat Eddie, went to Pulse nightclub, and that was the last time anybody would see him alive.
When you go out to a place where you feel safe, you don't think in the bed someone's going to come in and massacre a nightclub.
Jeffrey Gissinger met Eddie a few years ago, and they quickly became friends.
He cared a great deal about people.
Al Ferguson, friend and former employer, says Eddie left his mark in the world.
Eddie's most famous achievement is creating the cruise to Cuba.
A year later, both of them changed.
This tragedy brought, a lot of people together.
And while I was in London, the London Bridge attack took place. I learned a very valuable lesson. The English and the Londoners are not fearful, and they've experienced so many things through the years of terrorism, and they mourn and they're sad, but then they move on.
Ferguson wants to focus on the good that has happened since. Eddie met Cuban artist Santiago Hermes while visiting his studio.
He has a guest book, and Eddie was overwhelmed by his experience with Santiago, and he signed his guest book saying on April of 2016 he couldn't wait to welcome his new friend to the United States.
Against all odds.
Just 2 months later, Santiago Hermes is approved by the United States government to come to Sarasota. Eddie's wish that he had written in the guest book is fulfilled.
That December, a group of artists came together to honor Top Hat Eddie.
The community organized this street play about Eddie coming to Cuba and the effect it had on Cuba leading up to the events of Pulse.
1 year later, remember, never forget. But it's time, they say, to move on.
Don't live your life thinking this will happen again.
In Sarasota, Crystal Knowles.
You can't be fearful.
SNN, Suncoast News Network.
And if you'd like to join them and remember Eddie, they'll be at Classico tonight at 6. And Manatee Pride, along with other local LGBTQ organizers, will be holding an event tonight at 7:30 at the Manatee Unitarian Universalist Fellowship in Bradenton to remember those killed in the nightclub massacre. And SNN will have a full report tonight at 10.